Good evening, everyone. I'm very, very happy to welcome you all here. It has been a very long time since we've been together, and I suppose since you've been to theater. So before we start, I need to say some practicalities. Please don't forget to turn off your phone, and please leave your masks on. So I'm really glad that we can be here together this night. I'm very happy to welcome you all here, and I'm also very happy to welcome Wolfgang Tillmans here. Yesterday evening, we could open the exhibition entitled Your Body is Yours, which was supported by the Goethe-Institut Budapest, and I would like to thank them their kind support. And I think this is an exhibition where one can really lose himself or herself in the unique light and playful shifts in scale between personal and intimate moments and events on a way larger historical, global, or even astronomical scale. The exhibition opens up space to be able to make honest questions and see things from the very close and from the distance at the same time, and opens up space for honest human contacts and moments of safety and freedom. I think here and now it is particularly important to prove that there is a justification for living freedom, and that's why I'm also very pleased that Trafó Gallery could give space for this truly amazing exhibition. So first of all, I would like to thank Wolfgang Tillmans for accepting the exhibition and realizing this fantastic exhibition. And now I would like to give him the mic to talk about his artistic practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bori. Also, thank you to the team at Trafó, Judith and everybody else, and also Anders Clausen, who stayed the whole week with me setting up the exhibition until late, sometimes 2 a.m. at night. When I arrived, I didn't know that the exhibition would be double the size of what I expected it to be, because it turned out that the club room would be empty during the duration of the exhibition, and I could use it. And initially I then thought, oh, let's show a video piece, but then it turned out that this coexistence of moving images and still images in the gallery isn't what I wanted, and I did a different approach. But for you, I want to play the video that I plan to show there. It's a song I wrote 2 years ago together with Tim Knapp. It's called Lifeguarding.
Fear quite the same way you do.
Are you around? Are you around?
Are you lifeguarding? Lifeguarding? Are you lifeguarding me? Are you lifeguarding? Lifeguarding? Are you lifeguarding me? Language is what it is. We mean what we say. I just want to say yes, or just say ah. The future is unwritten. The future is unwritten. The shoreline, reliability. The future is unwritten. The shoreline, reliability. The hardest thing to be. The harder I try, the less I get what I want. Are you lifeguarding? Lifeguarding? Are you lifeguarding me? Are you lifeguarding? Lifeguarding? Are you lifeguarding me? Are you lifeguarding? Lifeguarding? Are you lifeguarding me? Are you lifeguarding? Lifeguarding me?
Yes, music was originally something I did with great passion when I was 17, 18, in the mid-80s, but then stopped and paused for 30 years until 2015, when I started to actively make music again. And I've since released some music and records, and if you're more interested, they are available on the usual streaming sites. But for this space, then it seemed ideal to exhibit a sound piece, spoken word, which I made in Hong Kong in 2019. 18, and it's called I Want to Make a Film, and a lot of people, I think, aren't aware that there is this second room, the second part of the exhibition. So make sure you have a go. And it is a kind of performance that was not rehearsed and not scripted. It is a one-take, 9-minute recording of a stream of thought that I spoke into a microphone and about ideas that had been with me for a long time, but that I was at times too embarrassed to do something about, or questions too embarrassed to ask, because they seem too obvious, and in this hypothetical film that I talk about, it walks a thin line between slightly humorous, but then at the same time it is very earnest, and I mean it, and I'm really grateful that this unexpected addition to the show was made possible. I thought it is maybe most useful in an exhibition of approximately 150 different works in the space to really just talk about the exhibition and take you on a tour through my camera eye, and I start with this work from one of the very few series that I do, Paper Drop, they're called, and they are a group of pictures I started in 2001, and initially it was a couple of photographs were photographed hanging paper. It wasn't in a drop-like shape, but in 2005 I observed how a sheet of photographic paper folded over onto itself created this tunnel of light and this drop-like shape, which is really a balance, an equilibrium of gravity and paper tension, how the weight of gravity pulls it down and the tension of the paper lifts it. And the depth of field is very shallow and sits only on the front edge of the paper. And they are really exemplaric for my interest and my joy, in a way, about my medium, photography, as a medium that allows me to talk about and think about three-dimensional settings, sculptural situations, without actually then having to make or maintain the sculptural object. It is, for photography, really, for me, is the translation of thought about the three-dimensional world into 2 dimensions. And this is called Grey Jeans Over Stair Post from 1991, when I was still a student in Bournemouth in the south of England. And I've had this, here again, this great realization of how the two-dimensionality of fabric wrapped around our body is being inscribed with an imprint of our body, and clothes have been a subject of photographs ever since, in a group of works that I again loosely add to, called Faltenwurf, or drapery. And really the reason why I started to want to make exhibitions right from the start was because I enjoyed the three-dimensional potential of a space, of a gallery space. This was not against the flatness of photography, and I found a great strength of photography that it sits so easily on the printed page in a magazine, newspaper, on a book, or even now on the screen. But I also always felt photographs are objects. They're not just carriers of information, but they are things in themselves. They are really very shallow cubes. They have a dimension into the space, and but then taken into the gallery, I developed in the early 90s my way of installation in which a room becomes one work, one installation at the end of a process that takes several days and several months in the running up. That once it is complete, I don't change anymore. So those who've seen the installation process in the past week, seen things move and change a lot, but it is then an ever closer approximation to finding a calm and balanced state where which I liken sometimes to sort of tuning the space as in sound, that each photograph brings a sound, a voice into the space, and the polyphony is varying in density, and here I felt it was a great challenge, a positive challenge, almost a gift, that this is my first show in Hungary, which it happens in this important institution, Trafó, but the space is just one definitive space, and so kind of all aspects. So I tried to bring a whole variety of aspects of my work right into it. And I show you these installation views also because they pick out things that I notice during installation, which is not planned, but there's, for example, here the color blue seems to be playing a key role in the exhibition, and I really enjoyed how the columns act as collaging elements of foreground and background, and photographing the show was a great pleasure, because of course photography again flattens the three-dimensionality of the space. When I started and made the first exhibition of this type in 1993, the choice to hang my work unframed, directly taped onto the walls, came also from from an economy, an economy of transport, an economy of planning, flexibility that I wouldn't have if everything had to be framed beforehand and planned. But traveling with just a couple of boxes of prints allowed me to respond to each individual space, whilst the large works that I showed, I chose to go against the then common practice of large photography in large frames with shiny glazed surface, and I discovered a very early inkjet printer, a Canon bubblejet copier A1. It was really an extra large photocopier with a which printed on rolls of paper, where millions of ink dots were sprayed into a layer of chalk, and that surface I found and still find so incredibly rich and powerful, even though it is really fragile. And this contradiction I like to this date, that they are very large, powerful works, but they are actually very light and fragile. But in order to allow people who want to own one to feel the safety that this is not lost if there is an open window and a sudden gust of wind blows the picture off the wall, I, from 1993, made a certificate for each work and gave the collector the original print that I used to enlarge the work from, or today the data set file and a color match print, and the certificate allows the owner to reprint the work should it get damaged. And here Trafó was particularly interesting space. You know, some people I heard say difficult, but I often try to turn the difficulties of a space into a positive, and here the ceiling is so rich that I brought some works above our heads. I wrote this text 2017, which I presented at Fondation Bayerle. I'm aware how my brain fails me. I think I said something, but I hadn't. I thought I saw something, but I didn't. I believe you said that you said this, but in fact you said that. The eyes are optical instruments. By default, they are impartial. They project light that falls through their lenses onto the retina. I need to know what the brain does to what my eyes see. To observe, what do I want to see? What do I really see? What do I see, and what do I want to see? What is in the picture? What is in the room, on the walls? And what does the visitor see? What does she want to see? What do I need her for to complete this picture? This sounds like a flaw, an exception. But different people see different things in the same picture. I act surprised, but I should really view it as normal and then discuss this. We need to discuss the fact that humans seem to function like this. not discuss the opposing views and records for once, but let's discuss the very fact that the same and similar humans come to such different conclusions. For that we need humility. Progress can only begin when I start to accept that all humans are born equal. When I start observing how I observe. I need to observe, not just talk and shout. Careful observation with the openness to change my mind when results differ from my preconceived ideas. Allow evidence. This is Freischwimmer 203, and this is made fully photographically. It is a photograph, but it is not made with a camera. And I noticed that in the 1990s, when people approached my work, they often did so with the W questions, like what, where, who is this, where is this, sometimes why, and that has often, of course, to do with the quality of photography, that it depicts a kind of reality, and that we always want to see reality in photographs. And in the late 90s, around 2000, there was already a huge acceleration of image making and proliferation of photography. Of course, nothing compared to today, but I felt it interesting and necessary to insert other pictures into my installations, my work, and explore the medium to its full extent, and these and then I used the humans, the brain's desire to or reality to see reality in a picture like this, and that this is seen as evidence, as something that happened, as something underwater or celestial or whatever associations come to the mind, allowed me to make these pictures away from thinking about that the artist, has put that color there. So the gesturalness is not referencing my hand, even though that's where it comes from, but it is connected to a reality that is in other pictures next to it, which are made with a camera. I sometimes, and from the beginning, have a photo documentary practice as well, a journalistic practice that I like to use my medium as an amplifier as well, and I mean, be that for photographing musicians who I like, or other causes that I want to support. And I'm currently on a touring exhibition project on the African continent, and when we exhibited in Nairobi, I took a trip to the Kakuma refugee center by UNHCR, and had a meeting with lesbian and gay refugees from Uganda, and interviewed them and photographed them. One of them was willing to show his face; the others preferred not to. and then I published the text and photographs in the British ID magazine, but I also post the text in exhibitions and have these strong individuals speak for themselves, and so the work travels in different ways to different places and meets different audiences. This is called Clipped Tulip and is a Corona lockdown work. Through the exhibition, there is a strong physical presence of humans and people, but another stream of conscience, or stream of works actually running through it, is astronomy, is astronomical. In two of the four table vitrines, as well as dotted around with photographs of total solar eclipses and astronomical telescopes and instruments. And it was the first passion in my life as a child, and in a way my visual initiation into the importance of observation, and also into questioning what my eyes see, and a constant inquiry of like my position, our position in the universe, and where am I? And I felt a kind of lack. I didn't feel lonely. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I feel so lonely when I look at the night sky," and I felt always quite comforted in that infinite emptiness. And here is a picture I photocopied from The Guardian that NASA, the Mars Global Surveyor, made of the Earth and the Moon. And I assembled these tables primarily, starting in 2005 under the title Truth Study Center, primarily to bring into exhibitions what I can't photograph myself, or what other texts and other journalists can write better or can be documented better and speak about political issues that were concerning me greatly in the early 2000s, and about different claims of truth and absolutes and fundamentalisms, and that I brought together on tabletops and had as collages that were not stuck down, that were just lying with the weight of the gravity, and making sense and making also nonsense, like this headrest from a business class seat, and some aspects of this inquiry of contradictory spaces that I don't like, make it also to the wall. On the walls, it's maybe not complete to say that this is a world that I want to live in. It's also but it is a world, a version, but there are different angles and aspects, and right to the entrance, or to the left of the entrance of the gallery, there are these photographs of border controls and also transparent offices in particular. Actually, I thought this picture would come now, but the entrance of the European Frontex agency, which is in Warsaw, and has this total glass, this language of architectural transparency, when in fact what it does is to shut borders. Here is a total solar eclipse in the foreground from 2009, and in the background, maybe the most sparse place in the exhibition, two very different pictures of nightlife. The Cock Kiss from 2001 and Ragga Dancer from 1992. And in the middle is actually one of the most recent pictures. Have a look at it close up. It's called The Great Conjunction, and it is the planets Jupiter and Saturn photographed on the 21st of December through my telescope that I still have from my childhood days. And it was the day when the two planets were the closest in a long, long time, and one could really feel geometry of the solar system, how this much further distant planet was sort of hanging behind the more brighter and closer Jupiter, and the picture is by far not the best possible photograph in terms of optics, but it comes very close to what it looks like to see with my eyes through the telescope, and that is the photographic language that I've been using or finding throughout my work, is that I want to use my medium with the greatest possible control, of course, but not wanting it to be special effects, not to create distance between the viewer and the work, that it could be something you can see, and so also technically I'm using normal equipment of the higher end of the spectrum. But here, the picture on the right, Ragga Dancer, has just somehow this year become like a rediscovery. It's been in my first book, 1995, but I'm currently exhibiting it in 2-meter size at Trafó Gallery in Paris, and on the left, the picture I've used in many exhibitions, and of course it has strong reactions in different places. For example, I had an exhibition in 2007 in Washington, D.C. at the Hirshhorn Museum, and it was there as a 2-meter tall photograph, and it was attacked with a key and slashed by a visitor. I, in 2009, showed it at the Moscow Biennale, which at that time it was still okay. That would have now not be possible. And it's, it's just, it's something that has always struck me. Like, why is it acceptable to show two men kill each other on TV, but not two men kiss each other on TV? Times are changing, and it is possible to show it in many countries, but also the clock is constantly being tried to be turned backwards. There are quite a few pictures of nightlife in the exhibition, and I've always felt nightlife is not just a hedonistic, superficial, fun exercise, but a very important cultural activity, and in a way, dancing is a bit like art in the way that it is useless. I think scientists still haven't really found what use dance has, why we dance, and the beauty of art, I find also, is that it is incredibly powerful. It's stirring, but you can't eat it. You can't shelter from rain under it, and that power, that intangibleness, I felt attracted to photograph in nightlife. I don't go out all the time with a camera. It happens quite rarely that I photograph in a club. It still happens. I still go out, but in short moments, occasionally, once, twice, 3 times a year, there is a moment of heightened awareness for me, and I feel like I have to take a picture, because I'm aware that a camera is intrusive, but sometimes, a photographer also has to take the picture, because if you don't, it is not recorded. And I felt about nightlife always that it is also a political situation, that the freedom that we have and had to party and be together in safe spaces, in free spaces, has not been around forever. And 50 years, 100 years ago, to be free bodies without fear amongst each other was not possible, and there are people that previous generations that have fought for this, fought for civil rights, and they fought for a lot. But that nightlife can happen the way it is something I feel I owe to previous generations, and I'm also aware that it is fragile. People in power usually don't like the uncontrolledness of youth in general and of nightlife in particular. And the worst is when nightlife even is free, when it's not commercial. Because once it's commercialized, expensive, it is under control, and at least it serves serves the economy. But I particularly like the sort of underground scene that where things don't fit into the larger economy. And of course, that which was possible in so many places, and I've been hearing stories also about Budapest, inner city urban spaces are increasingly shut down, and nightlife is no longer really possible in city centers around the world. And I find I feel like I want to record this also for the future, that this existed, that this way of being was possible, is possible. Like the orange picture in the middle is called the Spectrum Dagger from 2014. And really New York, Manhattan has been cleaned up so incredibly much that there is almost nothing really fun going on in Manhattan, and this was this one amazing place where there wasn't bouncers with headsets and control everywhere, and I had this brief sense of I want to take photographs, and people sort of acknowledged me, which is important to me, that for that moment it is not an intrusive act, and I then didn't publish the pictures. I tend to not publish pictures of clubs or places that are ongoing, only later, and this is a good sort of like showing you how I think or build a wall, how there are many different aspects at play. On the one hand, there is the color orange brown that emerged, but also there is like a kind of a string of hands that dance across the wall to the hand in the big orange picture at the bottom is really in dialogue with this hand and this baby in space, and this is called Sicily Morning, and is really just a picture of play. I find that important to stress that I mean the importance of play and how important it is also in my work. We tend to value more things that are serious, or that can be written about in serious terms, and really a lot of what I do is play with my eyes, play with things, play with perspective, and the question, is this possible? Like, can I really take a picture of this? Like, is this stupid play, or is this interesting? Is this corny, cheesy? There are all sorts of reasons why a picture does not work or may fail. I find it's so unlikely that this picture will be an important picture. So my general set of expectation is always low. It's always thinking like, is this possible? It's probably not, but I try anyway. And this is the wall to the left of the entrance, or here to the right of the entrance, which includes some of my best-known pictures. The Alex and Lutz sitting in the trees from 1992, and Alex and Lutz holding cork at the bottom left. And they were made as scenarios, staged situations between a man and a woman, and to have a playful relationship with the body and each other's bodies, and these pictures were originally published in ID as a fashion story, but it was called Like Brother, Like Sister, and we had to write a fashion story underneath because it didn't quite look like one, and in the top there is a row called Chemistry Squares, which I took in one night at a club in London called Chemistry in '92, and this is called Dear Hirsch, 1995, and is not staged, no? Even though it looks so like not real, but it was on Fire Island by Long Island, New York, and there are wild deer living on the beach, and Jochen and I were feeding the food we had to them, and then Jochen wanted to signal that there's no more food left, and he showed his empty hands, and I saw it, and I said, "Stop, freeze, don't move," and photographed this. So sometimes staging is also just maybe halting, pausing a moment, and so the hands move around the room. This is called Black Lives Matter, and it's from 2014. A protest on Union Square, and it was, there was then such a heightened awareness of how wrong it was what was going on with the police and police brutality, that it was almost unbelievable that 6 years later, George Floyd's murder could happen, that so little has changed. On the right is Bronzino, one of a small group of pictures that I take occasionally when like as portraits. The sitter in a painting I frame as if it is a portrait, as if it is a contemporary. And here, from a portrait from another reportage I made in St. Petersburg of LGBT activists in 2014, and the text from the Kakuma refugees. Below, a small picture from the Istanbul Pride in Kreuzberg, or actually the Kreuzberg-Berlin solidarity demonstration in aid of the Istanbul Pride that couldn't happen. 2 solar eclipses. And each exhibition allows me also to explore things that that may. Oops! I realized that would help to put the plug in. Like these are 2 postcard-sized prints, one from 2018 and one from 2001. And I've never hung them together, and would probably have thought on paper it's too obvious. But then, I mean, on paper, in theory, if I had thought about it, it's maybe just too direct. But then here they are hanging on a column and make contact and like each other, and I feel like I will take that to another place and give that idea a different presence. The large photograph is called Crossing the International Dateline, and it's from 2020, last year, just before the pandemic started. And it is a photograph that is exploring the very limit of the medium. The sensor, the camera sensor in a night sky over the Pacific, and later in the dark room, in the light room, which is the name of my photo development program, I brightened the picture so much that it revealed the stars, but it also revealed noise, camera noise, where pixels can't quite tell if they caught information or they haven't got any information. So the zeros or ones randomly switch to either 0 or 1, and also the sensor can't tell what color it is, and so it randomly attributes color to nonsensical information, whilst the bigger dots are very much real information. Each one of them is a sun, is a star, and the other is next to it. It's just an electron that doesn't quite know what it is. Oh yeah, this is the Frontex building on top. And a picture of the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in Geneva, which is also like science is always, most of the times, at least in astronomy and in the physics of the smallest things, it's always about what can we still detect. Is this information that is meaningful, or is this noise? And also 2 photographs that have found each other a couple of years ago. I hung them like this for the first time, and the left is the anti-Iraq war demonstration in London in 2003, And on the right is the anti-Muslim travel ban demonstration in 2017, showing Londoners' outrage at Theresa May cozying up to Donald Trump whilst he imposed the travel ban on people from predominantly Muslim countries. The picture on the left is, that demonstration for me, that moment was really a pivotal moment in history, where millions of people knew that there was something going wrong, that the truth was not being said, and yet Bush and Blair went to war on the false assumption that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. And there was kind of a breach of trust that I think we never recovered from, and really so many troubles that are still with us today go back to that ill-fated decision. On top is the debut, even though it's from 2007, I never showed it before. It's a musician MIA, also a Sri Lankan activist, and Yulan Grant in the middle, a musician from New York, which here you see, and in all pictures you see that the paper size is not the print size, the image size, and that has been something that I've been holding on to from the start, that the paper that I bought was industrially made and sized by the American photo sizes, 12 by 16 inches or 24 inches, and the 35 millimeter film camera has a ratio of 2 by 3, and I felt that placing the picture on the paper highlights the fact that the picture is made, that the image goes up to here, but the picture goes further, and so I always see the entire sheet of paper as the work. And there's like also sometimes just a little ridiculous moment, this dance scene, like six in the morning, which some people find shocking, and what are they doing, wasting their time? And here I was at a beach where people were just not doing anything but take selfies. This entire group of tourists they were only engaged in taking selfies, and sort of how that is considered normal, I don't know. And this is a collage of the column I like. How likely is it that only I am right in this matter? Is a work that I made with a photocopier, and I translate it in various languages where I exhibit. This is from Papua New Guinea. guess we are. I just find this so encouraging and beautiful, like a American woman showing her armpit hair. And the photograph on the left was like life imitating art, because in 2004 I came into the room and Anders was sitting there just like this, fully engulfed in, with all attention projected into this splinter in his foot, and I saw it and again said, "Don't move," and I took this photograph, and it was 100% direct. It was not made in art historical reference, but it was genuinely in response to the power of this symbolicness of how one little thing can overtake everything else, and which is exactly what the Greek sculptors also saw in that, no? And that's why the famous Spinario sculpture motif was made, and so I don't work in direct art historical reference, but the windowsill, for example, is a place for still lifes for me, because it is a special place where light from inside and outside meet. It's something that speaks to artists over generations, and when I look at old paintings, like today we were in the National Gallery, and I often look at the age, how old Bronzino was when he painted that painting, and then it shows they were 28 or 35. And I realized in the late 90s that they are kind of contemporaries. They are friends that just happen to have lived in a different era. And this is a new work called Heatwave from last year, where the sweat of my body dried, and the salt made these stains. And this is animalistique, and it's a self-portrait, which I don't know. Again, it wasn't planned, but I felt compelled to explore this way of movement. Nene Cherry, and one of the tables is devoted to printed matter, also a group of works I call Time Mirrored, and some other text pieces which I guess speak for themselves, but I wanted to highlight them. It is from a Berlin Pride in 2005. And I mean, it seems that memorials are an important issue in Budapest, to say the least. I learned a lot in the last days, and in 2005-06, I had a touring exhibition in the United States, and I felt I wanted to devote one room to a memorial that doesn't exist anywhere for the victims of organized religion. This is an example from the time-mirrored group of works, sentences, which I find always so striking, that one finds time periods in the past much longer away, much further away, and recent history much closer. But when looked in these same time brackets, it just becomes so evident how much history is in the now. We are a little bit short of time, so I just click through this. There is a text on this table explaining this, the Venus transit. And here you see a close-up of international dateline. I wanted to close with another song, which the video I filmed in 2014 at the European Northern Observatory in La Palma, and the song I wrote 2017, and it's called Completely Changed.
It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed. It's completely changed.
Okay, thank you very much.